Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about starting solid with your baby, including how to know when your baby is ready, the different approaches to starting solids, as well as what you need and, of course, how to actually do it. Now, starting solids before 4 months of age is not recommended, and that's because breast milk is the best food for your baby and can supply all of your baby's nutritional need. If your baby is not receiving breast milk or isn't interested in breast milk, then infant formula is the only other suitable option for babies under 12 months of age. Also, when a baby is under 4 months of age, swallowing is unlikely to be coordinated enough to manage semi-solid food, and their digestive system may not be mature enough to cope with the solid food. Studies have also found that there is an increased risk of allergies when solids are started before 4 months of age. The American Academy of Pediatrics and the World Health Organization recommend waiting until your baby is around 6 months of age and showing signs of readiness before introducing solids. Signs that your baby is ready to start solid include: your baby can sit with support. They are able to hold their head upright and steady for a duration of a meal, so they have enough head control, and they are also aware of their hands and fingers so that they can actually participate in feeding, which is something they can generally do at around 6 months of age. However, at this age, their accuracy is going to be poor, and they are still going to find it really hard to drop an item, so self-feeding it around 6 months of age is going to be messy and slightly difficult. Another key sign for readiness is that your baby is interested in food. So your baby will be watching intently when you eat food, so they watch the food go from the plate to your mouth. They may start to reach for that food, and they are opening their mouth when food actually approaches them. And the last readiness, which is helpful, it's not a must have, is that your baby has reduced tongue thrust reflex. So the tongue itself does not push the food out anymore as soon as it enters the mouth, and it ensures that the food can actually stay in the mouth and move back to be swallowed. So when your baby is doing all these things, that's an indicator that they have the foundational skills needed to safely explore solid food. Once you know that they are ready, you are probably going to start to wonder about which method you should use. Now, there are 3 general approaches. Number 1, there is baby-led weaning approach, where the infant is offered thick finger-sized piece of food which are soft and easily squeezed, and the baby independently places that food in their mouth from day 1. And so basically, in this approach, you bypass purees and mash up food. You have got the spoon feeding approach. So this is a more traditional approach to feeding babies where the parent is in total control. So the parent actually hold a spoon and bring it to the baby's mouth, and the food served initially are typically pureed or mashed food. And then you have the combo feeding approach. That's a mix of spoon feeding and self-feeding with finger foods. Now there is a lot of debate between people who advocate that the different approaches, but all of these approaches are perfectly acceptable. So I think the most important thing is that you actually choose the approach that you are most comfortable with when you get started. The first thing you need is somewhere for your baby to sit. Now, for some parents, they may actually see their baby on their lap, but this is actually not my preferred opinion, because when you first start solid with your baby, it is really important for them to actually see you eating. You need to model that food is safe and how to actually eat it, and you also need to watch your babies for cues of fullness as well as safety when they are eating, and you simply cannot do this when they are sitting in your lap. Instead, I highly recommend using a high chair. In addition to high chairs, you will also want to purchase an open cup. So it's really important that you get a small open cup that won't be break up or shatter, because your baby will accidentally drop it at all the time. So want to get some bowls and plates, and if you are going to do that self-feeding approach, then bowls and plates that have a rim actually work best, and it's often helpful to get plates that will actually suck it to the table, because that will limit the ability for your baby to accidentally throw the plate or ball of that tray or that table. And if you are going to use that spoon feeding approach or that combination approach, when you are using a spoon, make sure it's a small spoon with smooth edges and the bowl itself is shallow and made from a silicone, because this will ensure that when your baby does bite down out the spoon, it doesn't hurt them. And that shallow bowl will ensure that when they actually close their lip to clean the food off the spoon, they can actually clear it. Whereas if it's a deep bowl, it is really hard to initially clear the food off this thing. Now, something which is often a big issue for parents when they are starting solid is mess. So here are few tips to actually minimize that myth. Firstly, you might want to purchase a splash mat that you can go underneath that high chair or the chair that you are using, just to ensure that it's easier for you to clean up. You might also want to invest in some bibs or smocks. I like the smocks because they go over the top of baby's clothes and keep them clean. Now, if you do decide to use bibs, you want to make sure that you get bibs that have a Velcro tab at the back, because this will ensure that you just undo the Velcro to remove that bib from your baby once they are finished eating, and this will ensure that they don't get accidentally covered with food, which will happen if you get a baby where the bib is joined at the back, and that to get it off you actually have to pull it over the face, and this will result in the food going over your baby's face, and that will experience that wet feeling, and that can become distressing and put them off meal times. And another thing, you were going to want to soft wash clothes. Now, when you are using these wash clothes, please make sure that you do not constantly wipe your baby's face with the washcloth during the meal. Only use these to clean your baby following a meal. And when you are doing it, make sure you do it with a film stroke, and this will ensure that your baby doesn't get turned off by the constant cloth mouth, which can be just plain irritating. Also, you won't avoid pulling to the track where you constantly scraping your baby's chin to clear the excess food, because this is also irritating and turn them off having solid. So your baby is ready and you have the high chair, everything you need. It's time to start introducing solid. So initially you want to offer your baby solid food once a day, and that solid food should initially be offered after milk feed or at separate time. You don't want to do it at the same time. It isn't until 9 months of age that you actually change that around and you offer the food before the breast or formula feed. Now, when you are choosing a time of a day to introduce your baby that solid food, you want to make sure that you choose a time of a day when your baby is quiet and relaxed. So typically the afternoons are a bit hectic for everyone. Babies are a bit more windy, so maybe in the morning or midday is the best, and you may like to choose a time when you actually have someone with you, because it can be a little stressful at times. And the really important point is that you want to minimize distraction. Means you need to turn off the TV and devices so your baby can focus on the meal time and you can focus on that meal time. And initially you will just start with 1 teaspoon or food or just a piece of food. You will gradually increase the amount of food you are giving your baby according to their appetite. Now, this is often very concerning for parents because they often worry that the baby isn't eating enough. But babies are responsive to their own needs and feeling of hunger and fullness. When your baby shows you those early signs that they are, by just turning away from the food or showing you that they are no longer interested in the food, and it's important that you stop giving them the food. You do not want to force feed them. As a parent, remember just your role to choose when to eat the food, what food to give them, and at what time. But it's your baby responsibility to choose how much of that food will eat, or if they will eat it at all. It's also really important to remember that learning to eat is actually a process, and it can take your baby some time to get the hang of it. And your baby's appetite will vary from meal to meal and day to day. Remember, their stomach is only the size of their clenched fist. So they don't actually need a lot of food as long as the baby is developing and growing well. Then it is highly likely that they are eating For watching, and I will see you in the next video where I will share more parenting tips and tricks. Goodbye.